This is an overview of ways to get involved in open source community with software. I'm going to relate my experience with Gecko, a package that I helped develop and maintain. And I want to talk about a couple different ways to get involved. First way is how to search for answers. That you might be stuck using the software with a problem, and how do you receive and access some of the knowledge that's out there already. Okay, second one is how to ask a question to be able to receive quicker support for your issue. The third thing that I want to talk about is also about answering questions. Fourth is going to be about reporting issues. These could be bugs, or it could also be a feature that you'd like to see in the software. Fifth, how to get involved as a developer and be able to contribute. And then also six, how to support development. If there's a feature that you want, you can't necessarily develop, but you're working in an organization where you have some resources, how do you give back to support some of the developers that might develop that for you? Okay, so let's talk about the first way to receive support. Let's say you're working on an application with Gecko and you're stuck on a problem. A good place to start is on Stack Overflow. I just want to bring up a question that was asked today. Okay, so given this program, how it looks like I don't have an optimal solution for this simple quadratic problem. So in Gecko, we solve mixed integer or nonlinear programming problems with differential algebraic equations, and this looks like one that's really easy. So it said, it didn't solve. It gave me a solution of 0, 0, which is clearly not optimal. So let's just see how this how they asked this question. I'm just going to go into edit mode here, and you can see they did a very good job. Okay, you can see put maybe a couple extra spaces in here that didn't need to be there, but you can see they started their code block with there for syntax highlighting. Okay, and then they ended it right here, and that makes a nice syntax highlighting. And then they also showed the solution. Now, one of the things that they did a really good job with on this problem is highlighting their variables. They put in the code blocks, and then the other thing is they created just a minimal complete problem, reproducible example that I can run and be able to reproduce exactly the error or the issue that they're seeing. So very good job to them. If I edit this, I might say, remove spaces in code. Okay, so I can help improve their question, just give a little bit more compact solution. So you can also edit and improve somebody else's question when they ask it. Okay, if you have data, I just encourage you to include sample data there. Maybe you have very large data set. Maybe try to include just a minimal amount that reproduces the problem, and where you can take this code right here and run it and then get the same solution. Okay, so that's the first thing, is to search. Also, you could go to other tools. There's some great support for things like in ChatGPT or others. Okay, so let me just copy this one. Okay, I'm just going to copy this into ChatGPT, see how it does. Now, the one thing you'll need to realize is that ChatGPT responses are not allowed in Stack Overflow, okay, because they don't want computers answering these questions. A lot of what is in ChatGPT is trained off of Stack Overflow, and the answers aren't necessarily always correct. But let's just see how it does with this one. It's going to think about it for a little bit. Okay, and it's going to answer. The issue is that you're only defining the constraint which means that XL or TLX and TLY can take any values that satisfy this constraint. However, there's no further restriction on their values to make them non-zero. So the optimization algorithm finds a solution that gives the highest value. Okay, so it's going to put in some, a suggestion. This isn't right. So you wouldn't want to paste this into ChatGPT, for example, but there might be some helpful suggestions at times, from ChatGPT. So that's another way to just get support from your questions, So if you said something like solve an optimization problem with Python Gecko, it would give you a simple one that you could take and then maybe customize that for your application. Okay, so let's see how this one does. Okay, let's define the model. Let's have it define some variables, x and y, gave some initial values, defined an objective and a constraint, solves the optimization problem, and then prints the solution. So did a fairly good job right there. That will actually run. Actually, this gives us a clue for that question that was just asked, how to initialize with different values other than the default, which is 0. Okay, so back to here, you can search Stack Overflow if you need to search, the Gecko tag, and then maybe search for quadratic programming. Okay, it'll give you some maybe other quadratic programming problems that you can look at as examples. Okay, so let's say you can't find a solution and you're still stuck on your problem. Another thing you can do is ask a question. All right, and it gives some suggestions here. As you start typing here, solve a quadratic programming problem in Python Gecko. Okay, what are the details of your problem? As you go through, don't forget to tag Gecko down here. And then also it'll post a review of questions already on Stack Overflow. See if your question is a duplicate. So they'll also help you search here as you're asking the question. Okay, so that's the second one. Okay, so we did the first one, which is search. All right, and then the second one. All right, so we've covered search and then how to ask a question. Now let's talk about answering questions. So a lot of people that ask questions, they're first-time users, they're new to the community. It's very important to help them feel welcome, to help them maybe revise their questions so that they're more complete or meaningful. But just in the time that I've asked questions or answered them, I've really appreciated those who have gone out of their way to just help me feel part of the community. So let's talk about answering the questions. All right, so if you feel like you have something to contribute to this question, I'm going to come back here to this one that we were looking at before. Okay, and I see there are a number of great answers here, and I think these are fantastic right here. Okay, so I'm just going to refresh these. I upvoted them because I think they're great suggestions, and often just these simple ones like this, just give it an initial guess. Something like that can help somebody, and that actually solves the problem. But let's say I thought maybe I had another thing I could contribute to this question. I just want to show you how I might answer the question, and what I would be looking for in terms of give maybe a simple solution first, but then give some additional details to explain that simple solution. So I'm going to add an answer here. Maybe the others that responded are correct, that an initial guess will solve the problem. Okay. Even setting a small non-zero value for one of the variables resolves the issue. Okay, and I might include in here just how they would do that. Okay. All right, so even something like 1e to the minus 5 resolves it. But maybe I'd say something like, a couple things a couple additional things to consider or let me describe what the problem is. The problem is that the local optimizers find that the initial guess of 0, 0 is, satisfies the Kuhn-Tucker conditions. All right, I might include a link for that as well. Let's see, let me go find, so I have the KKT conditions here that I prepared for my optimization class. And I'd say, okay, primal feasibility, that one's satisfied. No feasible descent, that one's satisfied. Complementarity, satisfied. Dual feasibility is also satisfied. It's because it finds that 0, 0 is a local, and this is going to be a minimum, but it satisfies all of the KKT conditions. So we call that this might be a global optimization problem where it gets stuck at one point. Even though we're trying to maximize it, it's kind of tricked into solving this or reporting that it's a successful solution right there at 0, 0. So I'll give them a link to this. All right, and I'll go ahead and put in a link here, Kuhn-Tucker conditions. All right, because they are local optimizers, they don't check that the second derivative, or that the Lagrangian is positive definite. Okay, so I'll just say that as a reason why it didn't solve it, and a simple solution up here. But a couple things to consider for global solutions are listed on this page. One more link on global optimization and how to use solvers. Okay, so here's how to use hyperopt, and I take maybe this hyperopt solution right here, and let me modify it for their problem. All right, so I'm just going to say, okay, here's hyperopt. I'll copy some of that over. I'll define the search space. I'll do that for TLX and TLY. And I'll define my objective with their problem. Okay, feed in the parameters, feed in the equation, maximize it. Okay, solve it. Okay, get the objective. And then if it's a successful solution, okay, return that loss function, and then return the best solution. Okay, so here's a potential solution that I could give them to handle a more general case where maybe it's a global optimization problem. And okay, listed on this page, here is an example with your problem. And I'll include the syntax highlighting. You can either do the 3 tildes or the 3 slashes. It's the same key, just one of them's shift and one of them's not. Okay. And I'll just verify that it works as well. Let me just check this. Okay, I've got global.py, and I will run it, okay, in Python. And then I'll report the output of this. All right, so let's just see if this thing will run. And all right, so it's going to use HyperOp to solve this and then come up with the best solution. And okay, so I'll go ahead and copy that in here as well. Okay, and I just want to talk about also how to put in images. Now you notice I just put a link in here to the KKT conditions, but maybe I need the equations. And Stack Overflow doesn't allow LaTeX expressions. So what I typically do is I'll just paste in an image. So let me show you how to do that as well. Okay, so Karush, Kuhn Tucker, conditions. I'll go back to that page. Let's see, I was on this one. All right, and let me go ahead and just cut a rectangle out of here. And I'll paste that in. You can also use other methods. You know, there's online LaTeX editors. You can generate the equations and then generate an image. All right, so I'll go ahead and just take this screenshot, and then let me just show you how to put in images in line here. All right, so if I come here, I can include an image, select that link, or I can just drag it over. So some browsers will support this. This one, it looks like it doesn't here. It isn't supporting the drag over, so I'll go ahead and just browse. It has to be less than 2 megabytes. Okay, and then this is going to be powered by Imager. Okay, and I'll add a picture, and I'll just say those are the KKT conditions. Okay, I need to do one more thing with the global optimizer. I'll paste that link. Okay, this page. All right, so I think that's looking pretty good. I'll go back down here and preview this. All right, it's a complete solution. You'll see the syntax highlight, come up here in a second. All right, but it looks okay to me. Again, started off with a simple solution. And then if they need to get a little bit more detailed or have to solve a global optimization problem, here's some code to do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and post my answer here. And then later, the person who asked the question will come back and they can upvote. But the other thing they can do is they can select the one that they want to select as a correct answer. So it isn't necessarily the one that is voted the most times. You can select any of those as the person who asked the question. All right. Okay, so that is Stack Overflow, how to ask questions, how to answer questions. And overall, I just recommend helping people feel valued, especially those that are asking questions for the first time. It takes a lot of guts to do it. It takes a lot of, anyway, you just want to help them feel welcome in the community. Okay, so let's go back here. I gave kind of a long answer there. I just want to show how I typically answer those questions. I look for resources, look for links. Okay, so let's come back here. Let's talk about if you've gotten to the point with your application and there's maybe a feature that is not in the software that you'd like to see in the software, or you found a bug that crashes the program, or is some other unintended, it's not consistent with the documentation, it doesn't work right. Okay, so there's another way to do that. That's really not on Stack Overflow. You want to typically for that go to the place where they host the code, and a lot of times that's going to be on GitHub. So I'll just show this to you, for the Gecko project. It's located here at this address. You can see the Gecko source code. All right. And then you can also see here, you can see issues. Okay. And so you can see the is open or is closed. Okay. And you can see a list of the issues that were resolved. You can also search within that. So let's say infeasible. Okay. And you can see sometimes, somebody would ask a question here about their application. This really belongs on Stack Overflow. So a lot of times we'll just close these questions and then encourage them to ask it on Stack Overflow. But if it is a bug, then we'd come here, we report it, maybe create a new issue. I'll look at this one right here. Okay, maybe they asked it on Stack Overflow. Could you keep a compiled version of the model for the next run? All right, and then I might put in here, maybe that's an enhancement, and I'll assign it to myself as a developer of this. Okay, and then maybe I could assign it to a project or a milestone, and then work on the issue. And if you're a developer of this, you can develop some code and then create a pull request, meaning that you're requesting to insert an updated version of the code back into this project, and then those that have control over the archive, they can selectively choose to incorporate that back in. Okay, so we've appreciated the many who have already contributed to it. You can fork this and create your own, GitHub archive and develop beyond that. That's the nature of open source software with these permissive licenses to use in commercial or in non-commercial settings. So this has an MIT license, and so you can use and adapt and extend it as you like, or you can contribute back into the source. All right, so that's a little bit about reporting bugs and also developing features and putting them back into the repository. All right, and then once we have a new release, then I'm going to come here. I typically just update this. Okay, update this for the new release. Okay, I'll give it a new name. And let's see, where is that? Okay, I'll update and edit this and give it a new version number, as you can see here, and also put things in the changelog. Okay, so as we develop and add things, then you can come here and see what's been developed. I can select this and look at a comparison and see what's exactly changed as a change tracking for this project. Okay, so I encourage you to also, if you're developing your own software, your own platform, include these change logs in here so somebody can quickly come in and compare to another version. It makes it easy to browse the changes and the updates. All right, so final thing that I wanted to cover here after we've talked about reporting bugs and features, okay, or feature requests, contributing as a developer. Let's say you don't necessarily have the technical expertise to make that development, or maybe you don't have the time, but you might have some resources to be able to support other developers. I want to talk about this final one on just how to get involved as a supporter of the software and the platform. So let's say you have, I'll just give a couple examples. We had some scientists from Pacific Northwest National Labs, and they were using Gecko to optimize the waste loading in their nuclear waste for vitrification. So the storage and disposal of this, and And so they had some optimization applications, but they wanted to be able to incorporate some of the machine learning advancements within these optimization models. And so they contacted each other, and they decided to support a student who would work on this over a number of years to incorporate some of these physics-based simulations with this machine learned or data-driven approach into Gecko. And so we worked on this. Actually, Legrand and Kyle worked on this. Okay. And you can see a publication that resulted from this, and then also the documentation for the software. So you can see this machine learning package where you can incorporate, the Gaussian process models from sklearn. You can do a support vector regressor. There's also TensorFlow neural networks. So made another part of the project, of Gecko project, where now you can import machine learned models into Gecko and use those within the platform. Okay, so that's the final way to get involved, is to realize that there's a feature that isn't there, and then work with us on a new project proposal. So these are just some of the companies and others who have supported the group, and there's a new project link here with a survey. What's your idea, or you can just reach out and contact us and discuss the developments. All right, so the different options there that we have to get involved, some of them are collaboration, some of them are financial support, but really we have to have people that are going to be able to work on it. And sometimes we just provide support for small answers, quick answers, but other times it's something that is industrially relevant, and there's some resources to support faster development of the software. And then the expectation is that those developments then get released with the next version of the software, and we continue building this base of applications and of features that are developed. Okay, so that's an overview of how to get involved with open source software, how to get some technical support, how to search and ask and answer questions, and get involved in reporting bugs and features, and get involved as a developer as well. Hope you'll enjoy this open source software community, and look forward to your questions and the great interactions that we're going to have.